St. Blaine for Adafruit, and for today's project, we're going to be making these super cute little NeoPixel cufflinks using a Cutie Pie RP2040 and CircuitPython. Let's get started. First, we'll upload the code. Hold the boot button down on your Cutie Pie while you plug it into your computer and keep holding it until that RP1, RP2 drive appears on your network. First thing we're going to do is install CircuitPython. So head to circuitpython.org and the downloads page and find the Cutie Pie RP2040. Download the latest release, which for me is version 8. And then we're going to drag that file that downloads onto that RP1, RP2 drive. In just a moment, it will change into a CircuitPy drive. There we go. Now let's put the code on. Head back over to the guide and click Download Project Bundle. And then find the version of CircuitPython that you've got and copy all the files over to your CircuitPy drive. If you're happy with the code as it is, then you're all done. If you want to edit the code, you can open up that code.py file in a Mu editor and make your changes. We're ready to make the cufflinks. We're using a NeoPixel BFF and an on-off switch in addition to our Cutie Pie. Cut 4 pieces of header that are 3 spaces long and put the NeoPixel BFF on top, with the middle hole on each side left unused. Tin a little solder onto the plus and minus pads on this board as well. And tin the end of a couple of solid core wires. Solder the red wire to the plus pad and the black wire to the minus pad. I'm going to bend the wires around and slip them through those 2 holes that we left in the middle of the headers. Now we'll add the Cutie Pie. Make sure the USB end is facing the right way. It says right on the back of the NeoPixel BFF which way it should go. And trim down the rest of the headers just so it's tidy. Now we're going to wind the wire around and create the cufflink. Bend it tightly across the top of the board and try not to block that boot button. And then twist the wires around. We're going to twist them a few times, and this is the part that is going to create the actual cufflink that goes through the cuff. I used a store-bought cufflink for reference, just to get the right size. Once you're happy with it, bend the wires apart and grab your on-off switch. I'm going to bend the wires across right behind the JST connector, trying not to block the actual switch. This will hold the JST connector in place, and these wires are flexible enough that you'll be able to bend it back and forth and use it to hold the cufflink into your cuff. Once you feel like it's secure, trim the wires and strip them, and then solder the red wire into the SW hole for switch and the black wire into one of the ground holes. It helps to have a good pair of wire pliers. Since we're not using pin A3 we have a wire going through that channel instead, we need to switch so that we're using pin A1. In order to do that, first cut the trace between the A3 pads, and then use a little blob of solder to bridge the two pads on the A1 pad. We'll change this in the software so that the NeoPixel BFF knows to look for pin A1. Plug in your battery and turn your switch on. And take a look and make sure it's all working. For troubleshooting tips, check out the online Adafruit guide. To finish it off, we'll add a metal bezel to the front of the cutie pie. Problem is, if you touch the cutie pie with some metal, it's going to short out. So in order to fix this, I'm using clear nail polish on the back of the bezel just to keep anything from shorting. To diffuse the lights a little bit better, I'm going to fill the bezel with UV resin. I'm using a piece of clear packing tape and a little bit of mica powder just to help with the diffusion a little bit more. Stick the bezel down on the tape and the resin won't leak out. And then put the little mica powder on the bottom just to get the back little bit more diffusion. It's easy to find UV resin. They have it at craft stores or on Amazon. And this stuff is great. It cures using a UV light in just a couple minutes. I found that it worked best to do this in a couple layers and pop any bubbles that come out with a push pin or a lighter propane torch will do it as well. Hold the UV light onto the resin for just 2 to 3 minutes and it should cure to a nice hard plastic. I got a piece of dust, so I just added another layer of resin on the top, and that made it disappear. Getting a nice domed effect makes a really beautiful diffusion of the NeoPixel lights as well. Attach the resin bezel on with some glue, and you are ready to rock your cufflink.